Hello and welcome to my homestead. This has been a good year for beans but disastrous year for tomatoes. Let me show you why. Here is a black cherry, a cherry tomato that usually performs really well. And you can see it's covered in cherry tomatoes. But let me show you a close-up. They start rotting long before I can even pick them. Some of them rot on the vine. They never ripen. They're still green, but they're already rot. Here is a good example. It's still green, but it's rotting from the inside. This is blight. And unfortunately, it's not just cherry tomatoes. It's most of my tomatoes this year. Here is another example. Still green, but it's already beginning to rot from the inside. These are sauce tomatoes, so different varieties. But you can see the problem. It's already rot. This is rot. So if we look at some tomatoes here, I just pulled them from the growing vines. It's indicative throughout. They're all rotting from the inside. Same thing. None of these tomatoes are usable. So even though I have quite a few tomatoes growing and ripening, all of this is garbage at this point. I can't use any of these. So as far as sauce tomatoes, I have a few that are still semi-okay. Like Starburst or Sunburst is performing quite well, but even they are rotting. Some of the oxhearts are still holding, but there is definitely issues. And like I said, it's throughout, no matter what variety. Ironically, the only varieties that are not having problems are the hybrids. Let me show you those. So here is one of the hybrids. Even though the leaves show the blight, the fruit is actually not affected at all. This is one of the better hybrids that I've seen. Unfortunately, the taste is not all that great. Yes, it's sweet, it's crunchy, it's very, very bland. It has no acidity whatsoever. So I guess for some people it might be tasty, and it's good to throw in a salad for occasional snack. But overall, not the best variety. Now there is a pure hybrid that I'm growing on the patio, so let's walk over there. Before we go to the patio, I want to show you some more here. This is right next to my corn. You can see I have a lot of tomatoes growing here, and just like in the other bed, they're already rotting. There is nothing I can do about these. The vines are loaded, but they're already affected. And like I said, it doesn't matter what variety it is. Here is a Sun Gold. That's another cherry tomato. It's rotted through. These can't be even used in a salad. They're rotting from the inside. And it's the same thing here. These are all rotting through. They're not even green yet. Sorry, they're not even ripe yet. They're still green. But they're already rotting. All varieties, all kinds. Doesn't matter what it is. By the way, if you're looking at this jungle, you're looking at a lot of basil. So I have tomatoes interspersed with basil, and they're doing fantastic together. At least basil is doing well. Okay, now let's go to the patio. Here we are. This is a pot of a hybrid tomato, one of the few I have. This is an F1 bush, butter bush. You can see the tomato is actually nice and quite large. And so far it has not, the fruit itself has not been affected. It's still fairly clean. The bush is beginning to show some signs of blight, mostly because it cannot be avoided. The spore is everywhere. But so far it's producing tomatoes that are not totally wasted, so maybe I'll be able to use them either in sauce or in a salsa or something like that. I also have a few tomatoes on the inside. Yes, this is my bed that fell apart, so let's walk over to the other side. Here we are. I have one cherry tomato. This is black cherry, that is not as heavily affected by blight as the others. I've already been picking some of the black cherry tomatoes from it, but it doesn't show the same signs. So even though it does have blight, as you can see, it started getting sick. It's not as sick as the other tomatoes yet. And then I have this hybrid. It also has one teeny tiny tomato on it. Well, it's not tiny, but it's an oxheart. But unfortunately, it's not producing very well. So, ironically, it is able to withstand the worst of the blight, but it's not producing well. I also have this bush that doesn't show as many signs of a blight yet, but unfortunately it's also not setting any fruit. You can see it's blooming profusely. It has a lot of blooms, but it's not setting fruit. Here is a remnant of the blooms, and they're all empty. So for whatever reason, it's not happy in this particular soil or in this container, and it just keeps dropping everything. So ironic, we have a healthy tomato plant that's not producing any tomatoes. So again, not a good situation. You can see I also planted some beans around it. Figured at least something will produce in this box. So on this note, thank you for joining me, and until next time.